Hello peeps, it's me again. I'm back, kind of. This is going to be a movie roundup thing like I do at the end. I've done two previous where I just talk about my favourite films of the past year. There are two others that I did for last year and the year before. And I thought, well, it's coming up to the end of the year. In fact, it's the 28th of December, so I figured I should probably do one. It's been a while since I've done a video, and I thought, well, maybe if I do this, it might encourage me to start doing some more. So I'm going to start off doing a top 5, not necessarily in this order, but pretty much. Okay, so I'm going to start off with Ex Machina, which was a really cool movie, and I really liked the fact that there wasn't a big cast. It was essentially two guys for most of the film, and I think there was a female actress as well who was playing like the part of the AI robot android thing. But for the majority, the focus was just on these two guys, Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaac. And Oscar Isaac plays like this kind of eccentric billionaire type technology guru guy, scientist guy, who kind of basically like has become a bit of a recluse. And Domhnall Gleeson wins a lottery to go and work with him for a couple of weeks or whatever. So it's just the two of them in this house stroke lab. And the idea is that Oscar Isaac's character has brought him in to do the Turing test and to find out whether he thinks this robot that he's made is actual AI or not, and do lots of interactions and stuff. It's really interesting. The subject of AI is quite interesting anyway, and the philosophy and stuff behind it I find quite fascinating. And if you haven't seen it, I think you should, because I think it did fairly well, but I think it should have done better. If you're into kind of sci-fi, then give it a go, because I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, at number 4. The Martian, starring Matt Damon and a bunch of other people whose names I don't remember. Jessica Chastain and Christine Wiig and Jeff Daniels and Michael Pena and Sean Bean, Kate Mara. Lots of people. That was really fun. I really liked that. It's obviously a slightly kind of futuristic. Some people thought it was a true story, which is just... I just don't understand how people can be that dumb, but apparently some people are. So it's not a true story. It's based on a book, I believe, by Andy Weir. He wrote the book. So so it's not a true story, but it was very, very good. The science behind it all seems to be fairly legit. I think they kind of talked to NASA and did a lot of kind of back and forth with NASA, trying to figure out most of the science that would be needed in order for that to actually happen, to make sure that they made it kind of as realistic as possible. But I think the fact that some people thought it was a true story kind of makes you think, they obviously did a good job in fooling these people. So it's got to be pretty good. I thought Matt Damon's performance was very good, and I really enjoyed it. It was a slightly different thing to what we used to. It's like Castaway that Tom Hanks did, but in space on Mars, but with lots of resources. It's not quite the same as Castaway at all, actually, thinking about it, but it's a similar sort of premise where he's kind of left on his own to kind of fend for himself on a planet that's essentially just a desert. So yeah, it was good to see how he managed to overcome all the obstacles that he had to deal with. It was very, very good. And it's another sci-fi film, and if you're into sci-fi and you haven't seen The Martian, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. You need to go and see it. Number 3. The third film that I really liked this year is Crimson Peak by Guillermo del Toro, and starring Jessica Chastain, Tom Hiddleston, and a few other people. Mia Wasikowska? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, probably not. That was great. It was kind of spooky, but it had like this kind of eerie beauty to it, this kind of gothic beauty to it. It was really good. I liked I liked the fact that everyone was really good looking in it. Everyone was really pretty and nice to look at. The costumes were fantastic. The sets were fantastic. Which is not something I would expect anything less of Guillermo del Toro. I'd always expect him to do fantastic visuals, and he delivered. Like some of the colours, the contrasting colours that they use in there, just a really, really good like visual the whole way through. And I really, really like that. It's not sci-fi for a change in this setup. It's probably the only one that isn't really any sort of sci-fi. It's kind of haunting and mysterious, and I really liked it. And if you like looking at pretty people in a kind of gothic scene, then Crimson Peak is definitely the one for you. I really enjoyed it, and I think you should give it a check it out if you haven't already. Number 2. Now this film it was in my number 1 spot for most of the year, because it came out in May, I believe, or thereabouts. And it's Mad Max Fury Road. Tom Hardy did a fantastic job as Mad Max, although to be honest, it didn't have a huge amount of lines, so I'm not sure if that means that he did a really good job, or that anyone could have done a really good job. I don't know, but I think he did a very good job. The fact that they used almost all practical effects with like all the explosions and the car crashes and stuff was just mind-blowing. It was visually impressive just to watch all this stuff going on. The costumes were all just mind-blowingly amazing. Just fantastic. I mean, I wasn't a particularly big fan of any of the previous Mad Max movies with Mel Gibson. I'm not really interested in going back and watching them particularly, but I just thought this was fantastic. Just like, there's so many good moments. I thought Charlize Theron was badass, and it maybe should have been called Furiosa Fury Road instead, because she was probably more of the main character than Mad Max was. But I think that's the idea with Mad Max movies, is that he's kind of put into other people's stories. So you're telling stories of other people in this kind of wasteland from his perspective. So he kind of just turns up, and then stuff happens, and then he disappears and goes on to the next adventure. But I thought it was really good, and just like the imagery of all the different characters and factions of the different like gangs, I guess, or tribes, or whatever you want to call them. Just really, really good. And yeah, you should definitely watch it if you haven't. I think I've watched it sort of like 3 or 4 times this year, and every time I watch it, I'm still just like, oh my god, because it's so good. Number 1. Okay, so this was kind of a late entry because it came out in December. And it's not necessarily any better than some of the other movies that I've spoken about already today, but it is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Have been ever since I was very, very young. So I went into this. I saw it on the opening night, a midnight showing, and I was very excited because I just had this. It wasn't quite the same as before when they did Phantom Menace and those ones, which I try not to talk about. I had this. I had more of an excitement for this one than I did for those ones. I had this really kind of enthusiastic excitement. I was like, yes, this is going to be good. I believe that this is going to be good. I had faith in J.J. Abrams that he was going to deliver. And, you know, I'd heard positive things from people that I kind of have a bit of respect for, like Kevin Smith. I'm a big fan of a lot of his stuff, a lot of his films, the Jay and Silent Bob stuff. And I know that he's really into Star Wars. So I saw this video where he'd been invited on set, and he was talking about his time on set, and the very first time that he was allowed to go on board the Millennium Falcon that they built, and all the emotions and stuff that he was talking about, like the experience from that moment. And he didn't give out any spoilers, and it was fantastic. And I was just like, do you know what? If he thinks this is going to be a good film, then I think we're in safe hands. You know, I think we're going to be all right. And yeah, I really loved it. I've seen it twice. I went to see it in 2D on the opening night, and then I went back and watched it in 3D a few days afterwards. I'd say that you probably don't need to worry too much about the 3D. The 3D, there's certain parts of the film that look good in 3D, like some of the space battle type stuff where the ships are flying around. That looks kind of cool in 3D, and there's some stuff in a forest that looks kind of cool in 3D, but it's not. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. You can enjoy it in 2D just the same. J.J. Abrams, I think, has done a very good job. And I was with some friends last night, and we spent most of the evening talking about Star Wars, because most of us have seen it at least twice now, because we're all massive Star Wars nerds. I think all the new characters are really interesting, and I can't wait to find out more about them. And I want to see the next film now, because I'm like, what happens next? So I think they've done a really, really good job. Obviously, it's not without its flaws. There are some things in there that I didn't really like. But the problem is, we've had 30 years of episodes 4, 5, and 6 that we've had in our hearts, building them up to be these legendary movies. And I think that we're always going to nitpick on the newer Star Wars films, because we want them to be as legendary and as epic as we remember those films being when we were kids, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. The episodes 1, 2, and 3 were so far off the mark that most people that are into Star Wars probably won't even bother with those movies. I watched episode 1 to 6 in preparation for this, and I was just watching the 1, 2, and 3 again, and I was just like, there's so much wrong with these films. So we're going to forget about those. But I think The Force Awakens does a very good job, and I think it gets to a point where it's probably as good as it could be. I don't think they could have made it much better. Maybe a few bits here and there, but in general, I think the script was good. I think the performances were good. It looks like a Star Wars movie. There's no obvious CG stuff that I noticed anyway, like there is in the episodes 1, 2, and 3. It was just really good, and I really love it, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what else they do with this franchise now. Now that it's Disney doing it and not George Lucas. and it gives me hope. It gives me hope, a new hope, if you like, pun intended. The other Star Wars films that they're going to be doing are going to be as good, if not better. So fingers crossed for that. So that's my top 5 of 2015. I'm looking forward to seeing what 2016 brings. There are lots of movies coming out next year that I'm excited for. Batman vs Superman, I'm quietly excited for, but it might turn out to be rubbish like Man of Steel was. So I'm just like, I'm a bit on the fence. The trailers look like it could be good, but then the trailers for Man of Steel look like they could be good too. So we'll wait and see. I'm optimistic, but I'm not getting too excited. Civil War looks pretty good. I'm interested to see how that turns out, and we'll get to find out. We'll get to meet Black Panther for the first time, which I'm excited for. And as far as I'm aware, the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Spider-Man, but I don't know quite how that's going to work. But we should get a glimpse of him. Like, Deadpool's coming out, and we'll have another Star Wars movie at the end of the year. If you have different top 5 movies, or if you agree with some of my top 5 movies, let me know in the descriptions. No spoilers though, otherwise you'll have your comment deleted. I won't stand for any spoilers in my comment sections. No spoilers whatsoever. But if you liked these movies, or if you haven't seen these movies, or if you have seen these movies, or whatever, just feel free to leave a comment below, because I like talking about movies, as you can probably tell. Alright, thanks very much for watching, peeps, and I will see you soon?